Hi, and welcome to another one of my guitar lessons. Today we're going to take a look at an instrumental, an acoustic country blues instrumental by Little Son Jackson. It's called West Dallas Blues, and it's played in the key of A. It's got a monotonic bass where you're going to be thumping mostly on the open 5th string. It's a little unusual in that it's played in the key of A, and a lot of the stuff you're going to be playing is going to be up here. And when I first heard the song, I thought he was using a capo and somehow playing an A with a capo on the 5th fret. But the more I listen to it, there's a couple bass lines that just don't work if you do that. So the only logical conclusion I could come to is that he's playing in standard tuning, and he's playing around this bar chord shape, A bar chord. There aren't really many chords in the song. It's mostly single string runs and picking. Couple double stops and things like that. So what I'm going to do is start out and just play the introduction for you, and we'll start with that and work our way through, learn the chords and everything as we play the song. It's called West Dallas Blues. Here's the introduction. Okay, starting out with, he's going to play like you were playing an electric guitar solo almost. And he's starting out with the bass. He's got his first finger on the 5th fret of the 1st string, and then he's going to the 8th fret, back to the 5th fret twice. That. He's going to go to the 5th fret of the 2nd string and play this little run here. So he's starting on the 5th fret, 2nd string, then to the 7th fret of the 3rd string. He's going to hammer on to the 7th fret of the 5th string. He's got his first finger on the 5th fret of the 3rd string rather. He's going to wind up on the 7th fret of the 4th string, so like this. Going back on the 7th fret of the 3rd string. Whole thing. And then he's going to hit the open bass, and then an A chord, twice. You can play it like that, with just the 2 fingers, first finger, getting the 1st and 2nd strings at the 5th fret, 2nd finger on the 6th fret of the 3rd string. And then he goes into this, so let me play that whole thing. So you hear that twice, and then he's going to go into this ascending thing. What he's doing there, the bass is playing like this pattern, something like that as he goes through. That's a little tricky. The treble part, he's got his first finger on the 5th fret of the 1st string, and then he starts with his pinky. You can keep the A chord while you're doing this and put your pinky on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. That might be how he's doing it to get a little more full sound, or you could just do it with the 1st and 2nd strings. And he's just walking down from the 8th fret with the pinky, 7th fret of the 2nd string with the ring finger. He's keeping the 1st finger where it's at. And then he's playing this little, so it's the 2nd finger on the 6th fret of the 2nd string, and then 5th fret of the 2nd string to the 7th fret of the 3rd string, and then hammering on from the 5th to the 6th fret of the 3rd string, and winding up on the 5th fret of the 2nd string. So let's do the whole introduction for you. Whoops, do it again. is the end of the first verse. So again, he's playing out of an A position, no capo, because he's got to keep the bass going, and there's a little kind of a stumble bass that he does in a couple different places in the song that he could not play if he was playing with a capo. At least I don't know how he could play it. Come back in a second. Let's work on the first verse, the first solo verse. Okay, the first verse of the song has a very strange feel to it. Let me play it for you one time, the first part of it, then we'll break it down. Take it from the end of the introduction. Okay, let's take that section. Not perfect, but pretty darn close. He's going to play this where he's sliding down to the 12th fret. So he's going from the 12th fret. He's going to go to the 11th fret. So, and then he ends up here, on the 9th fret. So it's the 12th, 11th, to 9th. That's the first part of it. Think of it like if you play swing, like Pee Wee Crate and stuff. Just right there, really over the E. So here he goes. He's thumping the bass the whole time. Then he's going to go here to the 6th, to the 5th fret. So that whole line is played on the first string. Then he does the same thing, but with just a little different timing, playing the same notes, except on the second time through he doesn't hit the 11th fret. Let me do that whole thing again from the turnaround. Just like that. And then he's going to go. This is another reason why I know he's not using a capo on this, because when he does this, he's going to kind of slide that, smear it back down the neck, and he couldn't do that with the capo. With the capo there, he wouldn't be able to do that. So he's playing. So from the 5th fret of the 2nd string to the 7th fret of the 2nd string to the 1st or 5th fret of the 1st string. And he's going down here to the 9th fret of the 1st string and sliding down. Then he's going to the 8th fret of the 1st string. Playing that. So let me play that whole part. Play an A chord. That's just an A chord like this. Ring finger is on the 7th fret of the 4th string, or you can just play it like that. But I think he's got the bass string in there. You hear this when he does that. So the whole thing. Whoops. So here. That little lick again from the 2nd string to the 7th of the 3rd string, and there's a couple little fill licks he throws in there too. So here he's going from the 7th fret, 5th fret of the 1st string to the 7th fret of the 2nd string, back to the 5th fret of the 1st string. Back to that. So that A, then to the 7th fret of the 3rd string, then hammering on the 3rd string on the 5th to the 6th fret. So let's play that whole thing. Then that chord, 1, 2, 3, like that. Let's play the next part then. And that's a neat little treble run. So we're going from the 8th fret, 7th fret, to the 5th fret of the 1st string, to the 7th fret of the 2nd string, to the 5th fret of the 2nd string, to the 7th fret of the 3rd string. So the whole thing. And then he does this really cool double stop thing. Which is kind of tough to play without the capo. Whoops. So let me play it without the bass. So it starts here, getting the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings at the 8th fret, and to the 7th fret, and to the 5th fret, back to the 7th fret, to the 5th fret, and then he does this kind of a hammer-on, pull-off, smear type thing. So the whole thing. That's kind of tricky. Getting that smear part is difficult, but if you listen carefully to the recording, that's what he's doing. Then he does the turnaround. So we're just doing that same phrase. This time I got my first finger and my pinky. Just like we did before. So let's do that whole thing. And now we're ready for the 3rd verse. Now the 3rd verse, he starts out like this. So let's take it from the end of the next verse. Now I listened to it a little bit, and when he does the turnarounds, instead of doing this, sounds more like, so he's just picking it like that. So that's a little nuance to the song. If you want to get it right, that's what he's doing. Okay, the next part. So he starts out on this next part of the solo. So he's stomping the bass, and then he's going from the 5th fret to the 8th fret on the 2nd string. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's like this. Just walking the blues box from the 7th fret of the 3rd string, 5th fret to the 7th fret of the 4th string. So he starts out. Then we get the A chord. 1, 2, 3. So the whole thing. And then he's going to go from the 5th fret of the 2nd string to the 7th fret, back to the 5th fret of the 2nd string, so the whole thing. So he's going back to the chord. So he's going to do that hammer on from the 5th fret to the 6th fret on the 3rd string. So let's do that whole thing again. Whoops. There it is. Then he goes. So this time, without the bass. So it's a little different variation on that same run every time through. So from the 8th, 7th, 5th frets of the 2nd string to the 7th fret of the 3rd string, and a little hammer on pull off on the 7th fret of the 3rd string to the 5th fret to the 7th fret of the 4th string. Then he winds up on the 5th fret of the 3rd string. So let me do that again. So like that. So let's play the whole thing from everything we got so far on the 3rd verse. Then he does this. Whoops. Something like that. So he's going. So he's just going back. He keeps his first finger anchored on the 5th fret of the 2nd string, and he's going back and forth between the 8th and the 7th frets of the 2nd string. And this time, walking the blues box, 7th to 5th fret, 7th, 5th fret of the 4th string, and winding up on the 7th fret of the 5th string. And there's where he goes into the chord. You'll hear that coming. That's just the 7th chord, an E7. So let's do that whole part. It's a little tricky. It's very subtle nuances and differences in each run. He's going to get the E, E7th, then he's doing another one of those things that we did earlier with the bass going. So this time it's, so he's going to the 5th fret on the, he's got his first finger on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings, and then he's going. So it's to the 8th fret, 7th fret twice, 5th fret, 7th fret, and then when he winds up, he's actually winding up on the A chord. So instead of that, he's hearing this. So the whole thing. Same turnaround. So let's play the whole verse one time through. Messy. Sorry, got really bad allergies right there. So that takes us in to almost to the last verse. We'll do that in just a sec. And now the last verse. It's a kind of a short song. You could probably improvise and add some more to it, but it's not very long. It's only, I think, less than 2 minutes in length. I can look. It is 1:56 is the total length. So the last verse, we're going to do some double stops, and this is where I know he's not playing the capo. So he starts out from the end of the last verse. is just, that's your typical like Chuck Berry double stop thing. I've got my first finger. If I keep it in that A position, I've got it on the first and second strings, 5th fret. And then I'm taking my pinky on the 8th fret of the first string and my ring finger on the 7th fret. And when I do that, I'm doing this little stumble bass from the open 6th to the 5th. So I'm keeping the A, then stumble it in. If you listen to Mance Lipscomb, a lot of his stuff, you hear that kind of stumble every now and then. So let's do that whole first part. So let's take it from the end. So this part to the 5th, double stop there, then that little lead in from the 5th to the 7th fret of the 2nd string, then back again. So a lot of this, just those few pieces played differently. And then the next time he does, whoops. And right there. So let's play that whole first part and from the end of the previous verse. Then he's going to do this chord thing. It sounds like he's doing the E7th chord. And he's playing maybe with the thumb pick or the thumb and getting the bass notes. Then he's going to do the flattening out his ring finger on the 7th fret. And that is your D, your 4 chord. And then going up to the 5th fret with the first finger. And then back to the 1. So that whole part. To the A chord. Let's do that again. Then he does this. So he's starting on the 5th fret of the first string. Then he's going from the 8th, 7th, 5th fret on the 2nd string. 7th fret of the 5th string, hammering on to from the 5th to the 6th string on the 3rd. So 7th fret of the 3rd string. Let's do it again. 2. Then the 2nd string, 5th fret. 7th fret of the 2nd string to the 1st string, 5th fret. So that whole part. Then from the 5th to the 7th fret on the 2nd string again. So again, one more time. Doing the double stop, and what he's doing is just playing it over the chord. So that would be an E. So here's my E bar chord. Got my first finger on the 7th fret of the 1st string, ring finger on the 9th fret of the 2nd string. And then he's going 2 frets down. So my first finger is on the 5th fret of the 1st string, ring finger on the 7th fret, and that's the D chord. And then he has this little run. And it sounds like he's doing a chromatic run from the 7th, 6th, 5th frets on the 2nd string. Then that same little swing lick again. So let's do that whole thing. And then he's going to go back again, that little fill-in note, or fill-in run. 5th fret, 7th fret of the second string. That little run again. And then he's going to do this. So he's going to slide to the 8th fret with that triple stop. Once at the 8th fret, twice at the 7th, 5th fret, 7th fret, back to the A. So that whole thing. And then he's going to wrap it up. But this time he's not going to play that turnaround all the way through. He's just going to go from the 8th to the 7th fret. And end it like that. So it's like this. He's just going to get the single note, 5th fret of the 2nd string, 7th fret of the 3rd string, 5th to 6th fret of the 3rd string, 5th to 7th fret of the 2nd string, and then wind up on the 5th fret of the 1st string. Let's do the whole last verse, the whole last part. So from, where we go from this part. And that, to the best of my knowledge, is Little Son Jackson's West Dallas Blues. I'm sure if you listen to it, you'll find some little nuances and things that I missed, but that is enough to get you started being able to play the tune. And if you want to figure it out exactly note for note, you can take that, and that'll help you. Hope you enjoyed this lesson, and if you have any questions, or if I confused you anywhere, make sure you let me know. I can always explain it to you, or I can even redo part of the video or add something to it to help you out. See you again soon with another blues guitar lesson.